Hope you're doing all right, Chiefs fans. The barn has been burnt down to the foundation.
Hope you're breathing.
Your Chiefs have survived. They move on to the Bengals. This was an epic game in all kinds of ways. We're going to cover it. Matt Derrick is here from Chiefs Digest. He's still at the stadium tonight. We're going to have a good time. Thank you for being with us. Welcome to Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
I don't even know where to start. I mean, obviously, Chiefs win 42-36, hosting their fourth AFC Championship game in a row. Phenomenal game, absolutely incredible. Props to Josh Allen. I want to throw that out there first. I know this is Chiefs podcast, but he played absolutely phenomenal for most of the nights. He stepped up when I was wondering if he was going to. The times in the past, Kansas City's played them. If he got under pressure, he kind of folded at times. This game, he stepped up and he did what he needed to do.
Yeah, and I can at least, here we are, and we're recording a little bit more than an hour after the game, and at least give you a flavor for what's going on here at Arrowhead. People are still slowly getting out in the parking lots. It was a late departing crowd. Until just a few minutes ago, the Arrowhead scoreboard, had up the message, letting the few people who are still here know they're going to be hosting a fourth straight AFC Championship game next Sunday. That'll be first time in history that's happened. I don't know if you can hear me. I'm in the visiting radio booth, which would normally obviously be the Bills crew today. Right next door is the Chiefs radio group, and I know Dan Israel and I think Josh Klingler and a few of the others are still over there. And normally they're out of here this time. By this time, they've thrown it to the studio, and everything's going on downstairs. And not today. I think everybody's savoring this win for a little bit longer. I think the traditional rule is right midnight, and then you have to move on. So they got, by my clock, about 97 minutes left. You can celebrate this win, and this team will probably get the most out of that time that they can.
And I will tell you this right now. I've said this to a couple people already tonight. If they produce a DVD of this game, I am buying it. I do not care. Chiefs, if you're listening, go make this game available on DVD. I will buy it. I want to be able to rewatch this game whenever I want. Just absolutely phenomenal game on both sides. And yes, we have questions about the defense, but we can get to that in a second.
I'll one-up you even. Folks, you've seen Matt's books, Showtime, the story of the first Super Bowl championship. Matt, you need to switch over, write a screenplay so that when you make the movie, I can rewatch this, okay? That's what I'm looking for next.
Well, we were some of us in the press box talking about it during the whole fourth quarter and overtime. If you scripted this, you couldn't sell it. Nobody's going to buy this. This is outrageous. It's completely and totally unbelievable.
This game should go down in history as the 13-second game, right?
That's a good name for it. I'm sure that or Grim Reaper are probably the two big names being thrown around right now on Twitter.
Yeah, can you explain that quote, Matt? Because that was phenomenal. It needs to be said.
Yeah, it's not entirely clear that it actually was said, or it's Andy Reid coming up with a good line. But yes, when Andy Reid in the post-game press conferences was asked what was his message to Patrick Mahomes with 13 seconds left, he said, "If it's grim, be the Grim Reaper."
You'll be able to find that on T-shirt in the RGR store tomorrow, folks.
Yes. Yes, you're going to be seeing, I think, a lot of T-shirts with Patrick Mahomes' face and a scythe and all sorts of things.
As you should. That was insanity. And I have to say this, because he's been so clutch all year long and he's been so good all year long, I am so glad Butker got a chance to redeem himself at the end of the game.
Yeah, if the Chiefs don't win this game, you're certainly pointing to Harrison Butker as the GOAT. So the fact that he got a chance to get back out there and put this game back into overtime, that was big, because now it's a footnote. I mean, the game that Harrison Butker had, the miss and hitting the upright on the extra point, with getting the chance for redemption. Yeah, I mean, that's not even one of the top 20 storylines out of this game.
Yeah, and it sure looked like that kick could have been good from 60.
Yeah, and it was really odd because even watching Butker during warmups, I did not think that he had the normal leg that he usually has. I mean, it wasn't a very windy day at Arrowhead. The conditions, even temperature-wise, in the 30s, I mean, that didn't seem like it was that adverse of conditions. But his max kick was 59. He missed a couple from 56, I think one from 57. hit another one from 56 in the direction that he actually missed the field goal. Kind of perplexing because there wasn't really anything to explain it, but it just didn't look like that through most of the game that Butker had the leg, even I thought on kickoffs, that they were a little bit shorter than usual. So I don't know if that was weather or turf conditions or, maybe he's nursing something, but I didn't think he was quite 100% tonight, at least as far as the kicks go. But in the clutch, the guy gets it done.
One other guy that is not 100% is Tyrone Matthew, and I felt like his absence due to that concussion protocol was clearly what was ailing this team throughout the night, but particularly down the stretch with the lapses that you saw another singular receiver go off on this team for 200-plus yards and umpteen thousand points. Matt, how key is getting Tyrone Matthew back, for this revenge game against the Bengals, who also had a receiver do that, and even if they can look to the point where they win that game, to trying to play the Super Bowl with Tyrone Matthew?
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think there's two notable, people coming out of this game that the Chiefs really, really need. One's Tyrone Matthew, and the other one's Rashad Fenton. When you're missing both of those guys, and you're having to you're needing to rely on a little bit more of Dan Sorensen. Armani Watts played tonight, and honestly, I mean, at first glance, I didn't see that he did anything, out of line. I mean, I think he played pretty solid. You didn't hear his name a lot. But there was
always seemed to be in position. Sorry.
There was no doubt that, other than, Cole Beasley was there for a while, the one reliable threat that the Bills had, and Gabriel Davis obviously was open all night long, but Davis was often working against Hughes, and that was a rough night for Mike Hughes against Gabriel Davis. For the most part, Traveris Ward and L'Jarius Sneed were working on Stephon Diggs, and you did not hear Stephon Diggs' name all night long. They absolutely took him out of play.
7 yards, was it?
Yeah, I think it was 3 catches for 7 yards.
How about Dawson Knox too?
And Dawson Knox was completely shut down. There was a couple of guys working on him, but yeah, if Mike Hughes, you need to give him a hug because he needs it, because that was a rough night for him on Gabriel Davis.
Absolutely rough night for him. I'm really curious. Did you hear updates on Tyrone Matthew? I know he's in the concussion protocol.
No, we unfortunately didn't get any injury updates. I think Andy was, like I said, just still under the spell of the game. Didn't even get any questions about injuries because we had a lot of other things to ask about. But Tyrone is obviously really the only notable injury that came out of it. Jaron Reed, Traveris Ward both left the game briefly and went back in. So other than Matthew and the existing injuries this team already had, there doesn't look like there's anything new that's of significant note.
And when Ward went down, I held my breath because that got really dicey for a bit there.
Yeah,
he played phenomenal tonight.
The way that he has played, especially the last couple of weeks, that's a guy that this team cannot lose right now.
This team was hungry on offense the entire game. And look at Ryan already ready there with the Built Bar prop. I appreciate that. It is the New Year's. So that means New Year's resolutions. If yours is about getting fit or eating healthier, make sure you include Built Bar in your plan. Built Bar is the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, maybe even better than a candy bar. Built Bar makes it easier to stick to your resolution because it tastes so good you'll want to eat it, unlike other protein bars which can be chalky or waxy or taste like a chemical spill. Most Built Bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar, which usually has around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. And there are so many flavors to choose from: coconut almond, peanut butter brownie, raspberry, cookies and cream, salted caramel, mint brownie, and many, many more. In fact, Built Bar is coming out with new limited time flavors all the time. So check out Built.com often to see what's new. Go to Built.com and use promo code LOCKED15 and you'll get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. Now, Ryan, I want to jump in really quick because obviously we need to talk about Patrick Mahomes, but I want to talk about the running backs for just a minute. Jerick McKinnon and Clyde Edwards-Helaire had phenomenal games, both of them, in different scenarios.
I think I like a motivated Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think I'm pretty comfortable with that. I think a lot of the talk around town and the explosive game that you saw from Jerick McKinnon last week led to both of them running hard, getting good yardage. One quibble I have, Matt, you tell me if I'm overreacting. Little bit too much dancing from everybody tonight.
Yep. Clyde ran angry, though. Sorry, that's all I got to say.
Yeah, Clyde, particularly late, I thought he had a few maybe moments where he was trying to make something out of nothing. Definitely when he's running straight ahead, I mean, I think he's a much more effective runner. I mean, I think he showed that tonight. Tyreek had a couple of those moments too, but you know what? You're going to live with that because Tyreek is Tyreek, and occasionally he dances his way out of things.
That long touchdown.
Like the long touchdown. There was a few things that, I mean, and now that we're looking back on it, I mean, it seems like it was about 6 days ago that Blake Bell tried to run a option right.
I know Ryan.
Had the Chiefs lost this game, Ryan would be crying about right now. But the Chiefs won, so you don't have to worry about it, man.
I know Ryan hated that call. I loved it. I thought it was a great play design. I thought the Bills did a phenomenal job on defense. And honestly, where I'm coming from is if you're going to complain about taking the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands, you took it out of his hands on 1st and 2nd down. You should have thrown it earlier. I still like that play call because all they've done with Bell so far is run QB sneaks.
And it worked every time, though.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they felt they could do it. My only problem, it is a great play design. I completely agree. I'm sad that they wasted it because I think it could work again. 2 problems. You had 1.5 yards to go. You weren't going to sneak that. The defense was not concerned with that. And you ran an option to the short side of the field with a quarterback that hasn't been a quarterback for, I don't know, 6 years, something like that. 2 little qualms there. But I would rather see them do that on the goal line in the Super Bowl, but I digress.
Short side of the field, it's a great point.
Blake looked a little anxious to get that ball out of his hands.
Yeah.
A little bit.
And short side of the field is a fantastic point, Ryan. I didn't think about that. I always quibble when they do outside runs to the short side of the field. It just takes away so much. But
that said, it was built on previous plays, much as was the other one where it was built on the Burton short yardage play. Like
fantastic play design there.
That was fantastic. Absolutely.
That was great.
And even more so, Matt, I felt like this was Andy Reid being self-aware and actually taking advantage of everything that they've done all season long.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's an extension of last week. I mean, how many times have we seen Travis Kelce in the Wildcat run variations off of that repeatedly? And last week we saw a new wrinkle on that. The Blake Bell Wildcats, another variation. You're right. I mean, the Mike Burton, I mean, they were setting that up all season long with Mike Burton at fullback dives and then pull that wrinkle out. There's still more variations that they can run off of that. So no, I'm with you. I mean, hey, Andy Reid sometimes has plays that don't work. Doesn't mean that they're not well designed. Sometimes the team actually defends a play, so you got to give them credit for it. Sometimes they outguess you, so give them credit for it. But yeah, I'm with you guys. I mean, 1.5 yards, yeah, that's too much to sneak. You got to go a little bit differently. But in the press box, I can tell you everybody was crying over running it to the short side of the field. No, just can't do it.
On the flip side, I liked the speed option that they used. The Bills did. I think the Chiefs should steal that from their playbook. That could come in handy, be another wrinkle again. That said, there was enough new, but they moved the ball tonight by doing their offense effectively. And I felt like Patrick, despite getting a lot of what I call mild pressure, a collapsing pocket, some that he had to actually run away from, and some that I think maybe he could have sustained if he had tried to, there was enough movement that he had to use his legs. I thought him being self-aware that, hey, Josh does this all the time, I can use my legs too. I felt like that was very keen instinctually for him to just take that over and use it to get the ball game rolling.
Well,
yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I didn't feel like that there was a lot of Patrick, feeling phantom pressure or anything tonight. I mean, occasionally it was legitimate pressure. And I think he certainly, tried to stay in the pocket as much as he possibly could. But when he had, yards to gain, he took it. I mean, I think it was some just very sharp, smart decisions that he made most of the game. Put himself into a couple of spots where he took some hard hits. And yeah, you're always holding your breath when that happens. But probably could have gotten a couple of flags too if the officials had been really wanting to protect the quarterbacks tonight.
Refs definitely were not using their whistles very much tonight. I want to say on his runs, the thing that really sticks out to me on those, and I said this on Friday's show, I believe, Ryan, when he isn't getting interior pressure like he hasn't been this year because the interior three have been so good, it creates those pockets for him to be able to run between where the tackles are going to be going wide. And he absolutely used that to his advantage in the first quarter.
Yeah, and it set up the rest of the game, to tell you the truth, too.
It absolutely did.
Because you felt the defense come down. The same was true on the opposite side. Josh Allen was able to suck the Chiefs defense in as well. And I do want to say that one thing that we have to get to after the break is how the Chiefs reacted to what Allen did, because I was very impressed in a couple of different aspects.
I have to ask you before we go to break, because we're talking offense. I want to see the Trent Williams designed pull. Use Trey Smith, bring in Allegretti. I want to see
if it looks good, steal it. That's all I'm going to say.
I thought it looked fantastic.
I agree. They had plenty of gas, and I know that you guys have to buy gas. We can help you save some money doing that. Go get the Get Upside app on any app store. You start tracking the gasoline purchases that you make, and you get 25 cents back on every gallon that you spend if you use our code Touchdown. So that, again, is the Get Upside app. It's in any app store. And this particular start, when you sign up your first tank, you get an additional 25 cents off. So you might as well just lop 50 cents off of your cost at the pump when you use the Get Upside app with our code Touchdown. Then you rack up the dollars. You send them back to yourself on a bank account or an Amazon card or anything like that. That's Get Upside with the code Touchdown. Now, that said, I thought the defense obviously had its warts. Missing Matthew hurt. Miscommunication. I called it the 1-6 game because it looked like weeks 1 through 6 at times back there.
Slipping.
The thing that I thought was really impressive, though, I felt Frank Clark tonight. Josh Allen felt Melvin Ingram. The front four, if Jaron Reed goes out of that ballgame, doesn't return, I think there's a much bigger problem. But that front four up to their game tonight, it's as though we've been waiting 17 contests to get to this point, Matt. And now they're able to elevate. And I thought that was a very clear sign for not only this ballgame, but for the next 2 ballgames for this defensive front.
Yeah, I mean, they did not get a ton of pressure on Josh Allen, but they did 2 things. One is that most of the yards that Allen got were off of designed runs. I mean, there just was not much there for him to scramble and get away. And the few times that he did try to get away, they got him. They did, I thought, a really good job of containing him that way. And that was one of the things that they wanted to do, was just to make sure that the Giants would drop back 3rd and 17 and beat them every single time. He did once, but that's they got done what they wanted accomplished up front in that regard. But the other part of it too was just, I thought, how disciplined and yet aggressive both Frank Clark and Melvin Ingram played, because the biggest plays that front four made absolutely came from those 2 guys. And Frank Clark, I thought, did a really great job of setting the edge. He didn't fall for a couple of the runs that were designed for Josh Allen. I think he had a couple of stops for a loss or close to it. Made a really good tackle on that one play from getting Allen from behind. And I thought Ingram did a really good job setting the edge on the other side. I mean, they both, I thought, just did a really good job of not letting Allen beat them. I mean, and yeah, he got his yards on some of those designed runs, but outside of that, I mean, Allen did not break the back of this team. I mean, Gabriel Davis almost did with Josh Allen, but it wasn't Josh Allen's legs that were getting this team tonight. And I thought they played even better against him as the game went on.
Frank played great. I thought he had a really good game. My only complaint about Frank would be that he knocked the ball right back into Josh Allen's lap on Melvin Ingram's sack. But I say that tongue in cheek. I thought Frank played a fantastic game. And I will say this, I'm not trying to take anything away from the Bills. I think they played a very good game. But I also will say 2 of the touchdowns to Gabriel Davis were players slipping or players hitting each other. And you can call some of that miscommunication if you want on the players hitting each other. Gabriel Davis made a fantastic break on Hughes, but he's not wide open if Hughes doesn't fall down. So, 2 plays that could go either direction and cost Kansas City big in this game. Obviously, they were able to overcome it, and I think that's huge. Defensively, I think looking forward, you have to like your matchup going into next week against a line that gave up 9 sacks against the Titans, because this defensive line is, I think, very good. I think Frank Clark is very good. Chris Jones is great. Jaron Reed played great at times. Melvin Ingram is showing up. And them against that Cincinnati offensive line is going to be a lot of fun to watch. I think Buffalo's offensive line is much better than Cincinnati's, and I think that's going to be trouble for Cincinnati next week.
Well, you're hoping certainly that the Chiefs, learn some lessons, from their last meeting with the Bengals. But, honestly, the other probably thing that benefits the Chiefs in this matchup going up against the Bengals is that it's the postseason. And you know what? they let teams play more physical in the postseason. And if that means that the Chiefs can get up and play more physical with those receivers at the line of scrimmage and get away with it, then yeah, it's going to be easier to keep guys like Jamar Chase in check. I mean, but that's the thing, is that you've got to be able to get physical with them. The Chiefs can't make some of those same mistakes that they made last time around. They know that now. But the setting, Arrowhead, postseason, I mean, everything's favoring the Chiefs. I don't know if they should be a 7-point favorite the way that the odds makers have them opening up right now. I think you got to favor the Chiefs in this return matchup.
Yeah. The other thing that really goes with this in the postseason for me is this is going to be another over my dead body game. Patrick Mahomes absolutely plays like a man possessed in the playoffs, and it is just phenomenal and so fun to watch. Just wanted to throw that out there.
It absolutely is, and they need to have that factor because the defense got torched last time by a player for Cincinnati. And I want to boil this down. It was an overtime game, obviously, right down the line. The defense rose in some places and fell in others. But overall, when you take a look at the possession map, they forced 4 punts on a team that ran off 7 straight touchdowns last week. That is significant as the defense as a unit playing together. And I feel like obviously the departure of Matthew is a problem and the lapses are a problem, but that tells me that if you can force, what was it? It was 5 touchdowns. It was 4 punts. That is, I think, a building block towards not only an AFC Championship game that you can win, but a Super Bowl that you have a chance to win as well.
Absolutely. I mean, this was an offense that came into this game with their last 13 drives were either touchdowns or kneel downs. They hadn't punted the ball in 5.5 quarters until that punt in the second quarter, or the first quarter rather. I mean, the Chiefs got the defensive job done tonight at times. Yes, if Gabriel Davis is not on this team, or maybe they get some better coverage, this is a different outcome. But no, I mean, and the Chiefs have some favorable matchups, and that's why, once again, I mean, I say you bring back a Tyrone Matthew, you get a Rashad Fenton healthy. That solves a lot of the problems that the Chiefs defense had tonight. Because, if you got Fenton out there and maybe it's a little bit less of Mike Hughes, DeAndre Baker came in for him late, and I thought made a couple of good plays late. Maybe that's a lineup change that will happen going forward if Fenton's not ready. I mean, we will see. But you've got 2 corners with Ward and Snead right now that are playing at an extremely high level. I think the rest of this defense has been playing at a high level. You had a quarterback tonight that came in and was like, okay, you know what? Matthew goes out. There's a spot here. There's a couple of spots that they can attack, and they attack those spots. So give it to the Bills. But once again, I mean, I think that give a tremendous amount of credit to Brian Dable, to Josh Allen. I think that Buffalo played maybe not a perfect game, but about as good of a game as you can come into Arrowhead and play. And you know what? Chiefs still won the ball game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it says a lot, I think, about both teams.
I think it does, and it's going to be a big question going into this offseason. Brian Dable is likely not going to be in Buffalo next year. I would imagine he's going to get a head coaching gig. I would imagine that's going to happen this week. The other thing that really stands out to me, you talk about, not having Tyrone Matthew, not having Rashad Fenton. I agree with you. But you had other guys step up in this game that we haven't talked about on defense. Nick Bolton had plays in this game that were just absolutely phenomenal. And he is a rookie that is going to be a lot of fun to watch over the next couple of seasons for Kansas City.
Yeah,
Matt,
absolutely.
Don't start Mizzou. Hold on. I know where you're going. Just before you get on your roll, I just want to say, for the guy who was not that adamant about getting Nick Bolton, this was beyond my best acclamation of what I thought seeing his college film. He has progressed more this season than we saw from any draft pick not named Creed Humphrey on this particular roster for the last 3 or 4 years. He played downhill. He got to his drops and played forward. He did everything that he can do. And credit for Steve Spagnuolo making that adjustment, because Hitch was getting targeted early and they let the rookie come in and play more.
Yeah, they did. I mean, and you know what? I mean, looking at the leading tacklers tonight, I mean, L'Jarius Sneed, Nick Bolton, and Dan Sorensen. I mean, even though I thought that the Bills, picked on Dan a little bit when he was in the game, you know what? You didn't really talk about him in a negative way. I mean, Sorensen didn't really get beat. I thought he played, a fairly solid game coming in. They were playing for Tyrone Matthew. Yeah, maybe there was a couple of plays that he gave up, and maybe it was some teamwork with some missed assignments there. But no, I mean, and hey, you're right. I mean, I've been a Nick Bolton guy since day one, so you know I'm a complete Nick Bolton homer. But yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I think that he has improved, and I think that you're also seeing they're trusting him in positions that they weren't planning on trusting him with as a rookie.
Well, and I like what you said about Dan Sorensen. I thought he played a really good game for what he was asked to do when Tyrann Mathieu went out. And I was really happy that Spagnuolo went with Armani Watts and allowed Dan to still do what he is better at. And that is a huge key. Spagnuolo has learned at times what he needs to do to be able to get the best out of his defense. And say what you want, it's the Buffalo Bills. They scored 36 points. I get it. The defense didn't play great. But it's still Josh Allen. It's the Buffalo Bills. They have a top 3 offense. What I will say, though, is if you were going to tell me that Kansas City was going to put up 40 points on this Bills defense, I would have told you you're crazy. And I understand they went to overtime, and it took overtime to get to 40 points. But everybody talked about how good this Bills defense was. Everybody was talking about how on fire Josh Allen was. This Chiefs team still went out and won the game. And that says a lot about what they can do. And like I said, this goes back to I believe Terez Paylor coined the term "over my dead body" with Patrick Mahomes. And credits Terez on that. That is absolutely the way Mahomes plays. And the thing I loved the most was watching him and Kelce being able to celebrate in the end zone after the game. Kelce had huge plays throughout the game, but his catch in overtime, I watched him watch the ball into his 2 hands, put both of his arms around it, and go to the ground. He knew what was going on. He just took care of it. And then to watch him catch the winning touchdown, I mean, that's fantastic. Both huge plays from your offensive captains, and can't ask for more.
No. And I'll give credit to C. Spagnuolo as well. Going with that, and like you said, allowing Dan to play lower in the box like he should, trusting Armani Watts to do his job like we saw him do. I also want to say, tough week for Willie Gay. Made a mistake early. The team didn't turn their back on him. They didn't shut him out. He responded. He was in his position where he needed to be and made some plays tonight.
And they brought in Dorian O'Daniel. Sorry, I thought that was interesting as well. Sorry.
Yeah, no, to get him some snaps as well. Like, he has the athleticism that goes there, right? But credit to Steve Spagnuolo because they finally blitzed Willie because he is really good at it. And that, I think, especially early in the first quarter, was a turning point that they're going to have to continue to build upon. Matt, did you like that, or is it just extra?
No, I did. I mean, and honestly, I liked a lot of what Spagnuolo did during the game. I thought there was only one mistake that I thought that he made, and that was on that final Bills drive at the end of the first half. And he put the 3rd down package out there, which he does from time to time when it's going to be some obvious passing situations. He'll do that at the end of games when the team has a big lead. So, that 3rd down package, for the most part, it's Ben Neiman, it's Dan Sorensen. I mean, it's a little bit a lighter group, but it's designed to, be some guys that they can bring on some blitzes, and obvious passing situations, but they got a little bit more speed, to be able to cover just because this is usually, like I said, typically obvious passing situations. Well, the Bills saw that package out there and said, okay, you know what? Josh Allen's going to run the football. And Josh Allen ran the football down the field. It got him into range, and then they had obviously one of the touchdowns to Davis right there. I thought that was a mistake. I mean, I think he should have kept the base defense out there for that drive. Force Allen to make sure he's throwing the football in that situation and not being able to run the ball and get it into what could have been field goal range, but obviously they get a touchdown. So I thought that played maybe a little bit just too passive there. Conversely, I mean, once again, what does a prevent defense do? It prevents you from winning. I mean, Buffalo did the same thing at the end of the 4th quarter. I mean, they gifted the Chiefs the yards to get in the field.
45 yards.
I mean,
yeah, they gifted it. Absolutely.
They were just trying not to give up a touchdown, and instead to give up the field goal that forces overtime, and they lose anyway.
Yeah. Matt, I have to ask this. I know it didn't come down to it, but did you feel it was 4-down territory at the very end of the game in overtime?
No, I figured that if they were stopped there, and I thought they would probably go ahead and kick the field goal, but that would have been a really tough decision. You're right. I mean, but at that point, I don't know that you can really expect to be able to keep the Bills out of the end zone, but you're certainly not keeping the Bills out of field goal range. So I probably would have just taken the points and put my defense back onto the field, trying to get a play. But I could certainly have seen the argument to go ahead and go for it. And there were plenty of questions. I mean, I know that a lot of people in the press box thought the Bills should have gone for it on, 4th and short in their own territory when they chose to punt late in the game. Yep. Andy Reid faced the 4th and 6, in negative territory that some people thought that he should have gone for. Maybe both those coaches played a conservative there, but I don't think anybody at the same time saw the last 2 minutes of this game playing out the way that it did, which almost makes any of the earlier decisions almost moot.
I also have to throw this out there because I think it really says something to me about growth when you talk about players. I know he didn't do a lot, but Tommy Townsend is a guy that struggled at times with consistency, and in big moments and in pressure moments he struggled last year. You didn't see that in this game. I'm not saying he punted fantastic. I don't remember what the yardage was, but it wasn't anything where he shanked it. He did his job. He did what he needed to do. And special teams didn't cost this team. It got close to costing this team, but it didn't cost this team like it cost Green Bay.
Nothing like what cost Green Bay. No, I mean, they certainly left some points on the field. I'm still confused. I'm going to have to ask Dave Tobe on Thursday about that punt return.
Yeah, that was questionable.
When you put two guys out there, I assume that one of them was supposed to be faking the catch and the other one was actually supposed to catch it, but they both ended up faking. I don't know what was going on there. Maybe they were trying to trick the Bills into not covering the kick and making sure that they could go into the end zone for a touchback, but that did not end well. And
I know we didn't talk about this, but I have to also say credit to Mecole Hardman. That touchdown, that play that he had was phenomenal. I mean, there's just, like I said, before we started recording this, there's just too much to talk about in this game that we're going to miss. We're going to talk about this more tomorrow. Obviously, Ryan and I will. Matt, thank you for your time. But before we go, who's your game ball go to?
Okay, one, I'm going to give an honorary game ball away before I give my real game ball away. I'm giving one to Stephon Diggs because when the idiot ran out onto the field there near the end of the game, Stephon Diggs put a form tackle on that guy.
Did he? I heard that.
That dude is going to be in jail and feeling that one as well he should.
I heard that on the broadcast. I didn't see it. Was it good? Was that good?
If you get to see some video of it, you will love it. Stephon, and if you're the idiot who ran on the field, you deserve that. So I am now a Stephon Diggs fan for life because of that. But that said, there's once again we did this last week. There's 18 guys who could get a game ball, and I'm not going to overthink this. Patrick Mahomes threw for 188 yards after the 2-minute warning.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm so glad you brought that up. I was hoping you were going to bring that up.
I mean, come on. 188 yards after the 2-minute warning. And he rushed.
You're saying that's good.
He rushed for 69 yards. That's nice.
And a touchdown.
Yeah. Mahomes, game ball. Yeah.
I was hoping you were going to overthink that one.
No, we're not overthinking this one. Patrick Mahomes, greatest quarterback of all time. Well, not quite, but he's getting there.
Oh, it's him and Joe Montana.
He's getting there.
Go ahead, Ryan. Who's your game ball going to?
The guy that helped him out the most, it's Tyreek Hill. When you needed big plays, when you needed something to happen, it was Tyreek Hill that you could count on. And honestly, it was all of their big players. Kelce was no slouch in any way as well. But just the electricity that Tyreek brings and in clutch times. It takes two to tango. An elite quarterback has to throw the ball to somebody, and he made it worth it tonight.
I'm going to give an honorary game ball to Frank Clark because I think he deserves it. I think he played a really good game. I could also give that to Shavarius Ward. I think he played a phenomenal game at corner. And you're not going to see that really on the broadcast view, but it's from what I saw. He played a great game. My game ball is going to Travis Kelce. And I know we didn't talk about this, but thank you, Byron Pringle, for your touchdown catch. That was amazing. Patrick Mahomes doing Mahomes things. We didn't even talk about his sidearm pass that he threw. What was the Royals guy back in the day?
Dan Quisenberry.
We will cover that tomorrow.
Yeah, that was phenomenal. I don't even remember who that pass went to, but it just absolutely fantastic. And Kelce, I'm giving my game ball to Kelce. Obviously, he scored the winning touchdown, and that's fantastic. He had huge plays getting them down the field in regulation and in overtime. So that's great. But watching him just move, and obviously maybe it's the design of the play call, who knows? but move where he did on that last play of regulation where he caught the ball. He moved to where he knew his route was going to get him an inside release, and he could run and just make a play that was going to give them enough to get a field goal. And great job by him. And the thing I loved most watching that replay is watching just about every single Chiefs player running down the field going, timeout, 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 timeout. Offensive linemen were doing it. Travis Kelce. Yeah, it was great. So great job by the whole team. Fantastic game. Chiefs Kingdom, be happy. 4th straight AFC Championship game that they're going to be hosting. And this is the opportunity that Kansas City gets. They have an opportunity to have a revenge tour ×2 because they are now going to be facing the Cincinnati Bengals.
You're 4 quarters from the Super Bowl, folks. We're going to talk about it all week long. If you don't know this already, we are here 5 days a week. Matt will be back in a couple of days. We'll go through all the details. We'll hit all the things that you need to know for the Bengals.
I just was going to say 4 more quarters to going to the 3rd straight Super Bowl.
Thank you.
How crazy. I mean, think about where we were 4 or 5 years ago. Just absolutely fantastic to see this team playing the way they are, and I'm looking forward to it.
It's going to be a long time before, assuming next week's game doesn't go into overtime, 17 straight quarters of the AFC Championship game have been played at Arrowhead.
That's why you're on this show.
See?
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, really quick, Matt, I have to ask, do you think that this week we lose Bieniemy or Poles?
Oh.
Ooh.
Now you got to make me sad.
I'm really feeling it about Ryan Poles. I mean, there's just too much smoke and fire. He's too good of a candidate. I really like the odds in Minnesota. If he's indeed one of the finalists there, as it looks. We'll see. I mean, I don't know if this week's the week that anybody pulls the trigger on EB, but once some of these GM positions start getting filled, then some of the other head coaching jobs are going to start filling in too. So it's possible, but my money would be on the first one to get hired will probably be Ryan Poles.
I'm just going to tell you, there's a lot of fan support for EB here in Denver. Doesn't make anything happen.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I saw earlier on Twitter that they're talking about their GM. Was it Patton? I can't remember their GM's name.
Peyton.
Peyton, thank you. Is calling the coaches that are not going to be finalists for the second interview. So it'd be interesting to find out if EB got a call saying he's not going to be getting the opportunity. But there's a lot of people that want him in Denver.
Everything that George Payton has said publicly about what he wants in a head coach describes Eric Bieniemy. So at this point, I'd almost be kind of surprised if he's not the guy.
And EB, when you get there, I'll help you draft some guys. Just let me know. Rogue Analytics is here for your disposal. Folks, hope that you enjoy this one. Enjoy your Monday. It should be a fun day at work. Hopefully you can run into a Bills fan. I'm sure I will at some point. Matt, thanks for the time. I know we were up late.
Thanks, guys. Take care, everybody.
Have a good night. We'll talk.